And we are live. And welcome to another Cliff's List webinar series, which tonight we have a special guest, Steve the Dean Williams, a longtime friend of mine. And I'm really honored and pleased to have him on our show tonight. And Steve is someone that I guess has been big help and involved with Cliff's List since I can't even remember when. It's so many years. I actually want to forget how many years I've been doing this. It's ridiculous already. In any event, for those of you who don't know Steve, I'd like to have him give you a mini tour of who he is and what he does, and just tell everybody a little bit about himself. So, Steve, take the floor.
First off, Cliff, I want to say it's an honor is mine, man, and I appreciate even having the opportunity to be on here, man. I've known you for a long time, like you said, but we won't go through the dates. But just tell you a little bit about myself. I started out real young. I was a guy that used to get in trouble uh, messing with girls in the bushes. I was a guy who got my butt beat for kissing girls at school and stuff like that. I was also the guy in like the third or fourth grade. I would go over a girl's house. I'd talk a big game, go over a girl's house. She'd unbutton my shirt or something like that, and I get scared and I'd run off and stuff. And also I was a guy that was naked and alone with the babysitter, but I was so nervous I couldn't get hard. So that was my pathway when I was really young. And what happened was there was a neighborhood guy that had all the women. He was popular. He just had it all. And he wouldn't teach none of the little kids because he felt like we wasn't really serious about it. But after months and months and months of bugging him and pushing him, one day he came to us and he said, "Hey, look, all right, I'm gonna teach you." I mean, he MFs. I'm not gonna cut, but he said, he would cuss at us, but I'm gonna teach y'all MFs this. Y'all be y'all BIT. He would talk to us like that. And the first test he had for us is that, you know what? He says, "Okay, how many of you want money?" And we raised our hand. And he was like, "Okay." So he pulled out a bunch of nickels, dimes, and pennies and threw it on the floor, on the concrete, and he just sat there. And everybody that went down there to reach for the pennies, dimes, and nickels, he said, "Go over there." And everybody else, he said, "Get the F out of my face." Because when you said that you wanted money, in your mind, you were thinking ones, fives, tens, and maybe $50 bills. But this penny and that dime and that nickel is a penny, dime, and a nickel more than you have in your bank account. And the fact that you say you want it, but your behaviors don't line up with what you're saying, then get out of my face. So from that point, he took me, he took me under his wing and he started teaching and training me to really define myself. And then from that point, at age 13, I started at 9, but at age 13, that's when I hooked up with a 24-year-old bisexual married stripper that tore my little butt up, but also showed me about sex. And then later on, I became a gigolo. I was doing that for a few years. And then after doing the gigoloing, I retired, got out the game because I didn't realize with great power comes great responsibility. And I didn't know these women would tell their husbands and boyfriends. That's a whole nother story. But from that point, I met my wife in 1999 and I retired. And what happened at that point, even though I was teaching before 99 guys about relationships, I really retired. And then that's when I started, the school of date and all the other stuff. And that's when I met Cliff. So that kind of hopefully speeds you up. I hope I didn't go too long, Cliff, with that. But yeah,
Oh,
let
not at all, not at all. That was very interesting. I guess one of the big differences from some guys and other guys is that uh, some people just never seem to go through that kind of like lack of confidence phase. And it sounds like you had more confidence than non-confidence. It sounds like from what you told me, the issues was more in the performance area, but that was that's like that was like sort of me a lot of times. I used to joke around about color of my underwear, and I used to say, well, by the time she finds out the color of the underwear, it's too late, But
I wanted to
you
be
know,
like my dad. So that's where the confidence came from because my dad always showed me what my last name meant. Everything we did, this is how a Williams does it. This is I'm Ted Williams. this is how I do things. So he was part of my inspiration. They always called me Little Ted. So, and he was a little whore himself. So, so that's how confidence came.
What I'm sure that when you talk to guys, it's confidence remains the number one subject, I'm sure. And given sort of your coming at that from sort of a different perspective, I'm curious how you coach the guys about dealing with their confidence issues.
Well, what happens with a lot of guys is that they think what they do is they look towards what I call the outside world. They think clothes makes you a man, or clothes will get the woman. Money will get the woman, or money makes you a man, or having a big house and all those things. Now, or having a nice job. See, what a lot of guys understand, that's what you do. That's not who you are. And that's the first difference that a lot of guys got to understand. See, they have everything I have inside of me, but they just don't know how to access it. So it's not necessarily confidence, Cliff, but that comes with it. But what I was taught and what I teach is, see, there is what I call is a system. And the system is knowledge of self, knowledge of women, knowledge of dating, and knowledge of sex. And those four components must, in the system, they must flow amongst each other in order to be that complete individual. You see a lot of guys out there, they learn about confidence, Cliff, but on the other hand, they don't know about women. So sometimes they get stumbled because they don't know what they're dealing with. Then some guys might have a little know about women, but they don't know about the aspects of approaching and dating and the different types of relationships out there. So then they get kind of twisted on that. And last but not least, most guys don't really know about sex. All their lives, they've been taught, like from Miss Crabtree's fifth grade class, birds and bees, this is a penis and this is a vagina, and they kind of stumble along looking at porn and all this other stuff. But what they didn't learn is that sex is very huge, not the aspect of the physical contact, Cliff, but it's more the mental of knowing how to talk dirty, knowing how to touch her, knowing how to make out, knowing how to kiss, knowing how to be well in bed, knowing how to be a drug to that woman. So what I teach is not just confidence, because what I want to teach every guy is a system that not only they can use with women, but they can also carry this over into life, man.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about your system, about how you take a guy who's probably the opposite of that to along the path to gaining that kind of sureness in himself to execute some of this stuff in your program?
Yes. Well, the first thing we always tell every guy is we have a system of talking to 5 women a day. Now, basically, what I tell guys, this is the bare minimum. This is like counting from 1 to 10, because you have to learn the skill of hello. See, a lot of guys don't know hello is a skill. And what I'm saying is that what guys don't understand is, as soon as a woman meets them, that she goes through her own little phase. She goes in the past, back to the no, excuse me, in the past, to the future, and in the present. And that's like a snapping a finger. And what I mean by that is, based off of your behavior, what you say, how you behave, how you think, and I'll talk about that in a second. What she does is she's already met you before. But see, what a lot of guys understand is they don't know that. She has met you before in some kind of a way based off of your behavior. So the way you approach or talk or do all these things, what happens is she goes back into the past, and then she figures based off of your behavior, is he a guy in action or is he a guy in reaction? And basically, action and reaction is basically a guy that a person, like for instance in reaction, he's the guy that, like you say, he's has fear, he has anxiety problems, he doesn't know how to approach, he doesn't know who he is, um he looks at problems, he makes excuses, neglects personal training. And what happens is she goes back in the past, sees that, and then goes into the future. because the guy she used to deal with liked those behaviors in her eyes. Okay, well, this is the guy that's going to buy me drinks, buy me dinners. He's going to put my Christmas lights up. He'll drive me around, pay my bills, and be a shoulder to cry on when that a-hole Cliff pisses me off and I need somebody to talk to or vent to. But what we try to show these guys is that once you are able to speak to a woman and approaching and saying hello, see the end result of having her face in the pillow and her tail up in the air is by saying hello. And the thing is that's the first part because see, a lot of guys are nervous, Cliff. Like you said, they don't have the confidence. They don't know what to do in that phase. So what we tell them is okay, talk to 5 women a day. And what I mean is this. If you're walking down the street and you see a woman that you can imagine you can do just about anything that you want or fantasize that you want to do with her, all I want you to do is say hello first. That's all. I don't want you to talk to her. I don't want you to do anything because what we got to do is we got to break the cycle because what they don't understand is there is something inside them that I call the gatekeeper. And basically, he is running and controlling these guys instead of the guys controlling him. So what happens is it's the comfort zone. He wants to keep them exactly where they are right now because everything's perfect. You know, you don't need to talk to her. You're not good enough for her, or he'll make excuses for her. So what we teach these guys, talk to 5 women a day. And after a while, just like driving a car, you know, when you got in a car Clip for the first time, you saw the steering wheel and a bunch of buttons. You're like, man, this looks pretty complicated. But after you do it a while, I'm sure, Cliff, you can drive your car, listen to the radio, talk on the phone, and eat something all at the same time while maintaining that car. Well, this is no different because if you talk to 5 women a day saying hello, after a while, you're going to realize you're saying hi to 5 women a day within 2 or 3 minutes. And then you're going to come to a point of saying, you know what? I already talked to 5. What's wrong with talking to a 6 and a 7th and an 8th? So then that starts you the first phase because there are different levels and phases of this. But the first phase is learning the skill of hello, sir.
Um, okay, it sounds like it's a long process though, because going from a hello to getting them in the bedroom could be quite a journey for some of these guys.
Well, no. Well, again, I'm all about what is and not what could be. This is not porn. A lot of guys think that it's porn and they think that they can sleep with a woman when remember, she's looking for certain things in a guy. And if a guy can't say hello, this is the same guy that doesn't know what to say after hello. This is the same guy that doesn't know how to set up a date, text, or anything like that. So this again, I don't have we don't give magical pills. We just give reality because these women know. These women are very smart. They may be a little naive, but they're very smart and they can sniff out weakness. So what we've got to do is again, a surgeon cannot be a surgeon overnight. That's the truth. When we try to explain that to these guys, it is based off of how passionate you are. If you really want to get this down, you can get it down in your own time frame. But telling a guy that he can sleep with a woman really fast who has anxiety issues, no confidence, is going to be a problem. I'd be lying to him if I told him that, man.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things I like to ask guys is who've been coaching for a while is what what has really changed in terms of how you give advice for guys over all the years. Like what sort of have you found became much more effective than what you were doing before, or what have you learned that is more effective to, I guess, today when you talk to the guys from the way you maybe you did when you first started?
Well, the thing about the mindset that I've learned and we teach is not. See, the thing is, we've gotta show guys, I guess the changing is basically a lot of guys are looking for quick fixes. A lot of guys, again, like I said before, they're trying to be a doctor in 3 days or a doctor overnight. And it doesn't work like that in the real world. It doesn't. Now, it can work. I'm not saying it can't work, but they've got to be honest with themselves. And that's the thing that I learned a lot of guys don't do. They'll lie to themselves. And that's the worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. It's what we call there's three different phases that I've started to realize these guys are going through. The first phase is they think the world is flat. We call it world is flat thinking. That means they think that they can't get women. They think that their life is always going to be miserable. I'm never going to succeed. This is always how it's going to be. I'm always going to lose and all this other stuff. Well, what we try to do is we try to get them to realize through other things that we do, as far as like the Halloween game or the Valentine's thing, where we are the only people that I know of not only has a dating chat line where guys can go on and try to talk to women, but we also set them up on Halloween to have women come to them. And on Valentine's Day, we show them that's like the Super Bowl. That's the most desperate time of women. So we show them that you can get these things. But with that saying, Cliff, one thing I really learned is that it's not, to me, it's not the fear of loss with these guys. It's more or less the fear of success, because a lot of guys who have never got women before and they start getting women, they really get scared because they don't know what to do next. And that's the thing about us. We try to cover every little base for every guy.
Yeah, I mean, you've been married for a long time, so obviously relationships are a very important part of what you're doing. And I guess that's a good place to ask you, how do you transition them from like the meet to the relationship?
Okay, what we teach our clients is this: there are levels of relationships. And I always tell guys, I don't want y'all to get married, and I don't want y'all having kids with these women, especially when you're young. One thing I always tell them is important about their king. And what that means for their king is their sperm, their last name, their legacy, everything about them. They need to protect that, meaning that they must come in when they meet a woman and have certain type of expectations for the woman to prove herself to them. So the first phase we have is what we always say: the first phase is really learning about yourself. Then when you meet a woman and you start, there's the meeting and dating phase. That's the first phase. So that's when you meet a woman and y'all begin to date. That's when you have to have what I call a powwow of meeting and dating expectations. Now, remember, the higher you go up the mountain, the higher the expectations are. So after you get done with the meeting and dating phase and you decide on getting in a relationship, then you have expectations of a relationship. Meaning for me, I don't do that male friend stuff. I don't do that. But here's the beautiful thing: if she fights you on it, or if she has a problem with it, guess what? We fall back to meeting and dating. We don't go forward. See, a lot of guys will go forward, or some guys will go from meeting and dating all the way to marriage, and that's why they have the problems. But after the meeting and dating phase, there's the move-in phase, where when she moves into your house, you have to have certain types of expectations for that. The engagement phase is next, meaning, okay, this is where I need to look at the books. This is where I need to know your credit score. I need to know if you have any debt and all these other stuff. See, like I say, it gets higher and higher as far as you go up. Then there's the marriage phase. So what we teach our guys is, again, it's more of a system of teaching them their phases that they must go through to women. And every phase is great, because if she's not showing her worth and her value, you just fall back.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Um, so tell us a little bit about some of the success stories you've had with some of your clients.
I tell you what, I have two great success. Well, there's one that's a guy named Mike, and there's one named Paul. Mike came to me at, I think he was 49 years old, and Mike was always dating I don't know, 52, 53-year-old women his age. And like all guys, they're like, I'm skeptical. I've been trying this, I've been trying that. I'm not sure. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. I got you covered. I always tell my guys, look, you're my client. Once you buy something and you have a question, you let me know. I'll call you. We'll talk. I will talk for a few minutes. And we did that and did that. And Mike started getting the college girls. And Mike's biggest problem was what I always tell my guys is this: your biggest problem that you're going to have is not really getting women after a while. It's maintaining your roster. And everybody laughs at me with that. But Mike finally had that problem, and it happened around Christmas. After that, it was around Christmas, not Christmas Eve. I think it was around like the 15th of December. He started to realize what he had. Some women wanted to spend Christmas with him. Some women wanted to go on vacation with him. Some women wanted him to meet their families. And he's like, well, what do I do? But that was a whole different problem with Mike. But Mike later on did become a gigolo, and Mike was just smashing women, charging between $1,500 and $2,000 for a session with these women. Now, the other guy I want to tell you about real quick is Paul. Now, Paul was with, I guess, is a AFC or kind of a guy. He was like, "Hey, Dean, how you doing? I want to." That's how he used to talk. And I was like, "All right, Paul, look, we got to work." And sometimes with guys, it's a trust thing. And you've got, and I told him, man, he didn't trust me, which was fine. I said, you've got to learn to trust me because I'm looking out for your best interest. I want you to win. And it took a while, but Paul came around, and all of a sudden, Paul got a product, and he got a product. He's like, "Oh my God, Dean, I got a girl, and she called me. What do I do?" And he's asked me, "What do I do?" Okay, like I said, when you buy a product and you have an issue, you let me know. So he was like, "Well, what do I text her? Hey, let me read the text. Send me the text. I got you covered." That's what we do our clients. Send me the text message. I got you covered. All right. She said, "Okay, this is what you say, Paul. I got you covered." So then he got success. Then he was like, "Well, oh, I lost her." I was like, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, I came to her like you showed me. I was texting everything like you showed me. But here was the problem." I said, "Well, what's wrong?" He said, "The problem was she wanted to come over. She came over and I didn't know what to do." And I said, "Paul, I keep telling you, you got to understand that I can't tell you when it happens. But when it happens, your warrior must always be prepared for those moments." So Paul lost that woman, but then Paul picked up another woman, and then he picked up another woman. And then he picked up some of our master the bedroom, five play, or F 101 stuff, the kissing and making out. So then he started learning how to talk dirty to women and all this other stuff. And then Paul, who used to sound like this, he is like, "Hey, man," he's like, "Yo, man, I got these girls, man. They just fall in love with me and all this stuff. What do I do?" So he's still learning to this day. But the best thing I love about him is that he came from nothing, who thought he could never make it. And now he's at a point where he is just slaying them. He's got an average like 15 women. But this was over years though. But he's been going through them like a hot knife through butter, man.
Is there some special advice you give for older guys compared to younger ones?
Uh no, not really, because the thing about the man mindset that we show these guys, it has nothing to do with your age, because what I taught Mike at 49, 50 is what I taught Paul. I think he was like 21, 22 years old. So we everything is the same because it's your mindset. See, the way you think, how you behave, and your actions all must line up. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter how old you are, you've got to really work on your mindset. But my biggest problem with Mike, until he realized it, was I always told, and I do this in my testimonies. Everyone laughs at me. I always tell them, "You guys don't know how to kiss. You don't know how to make out. You don't know how to do anything in bed." And Mike was like, "Dude, come on, man. You don't know what you're talking about." I say, "Dude, I used to be a gigolo, dude. I know what I'm talking about." And after he started getting some of the sex products, he realized, like, "Dude, you're really fucking." Excuse my language. He said, "You're really freaky." And he said, "Oh, I get it now." Because now he started to learn about sexual confidence, but that's a whole different story. But but they both learn the same. Everybody learns the same because we're working on more their mindsets and how they think, because that has everything to do about how they behave and interact with women.
Tell me a little bit more about changing somebody's mindset. I tend to focus on that a little bit, maybe more than I should, but I think that's very key to a guy's success is changing how he thinks. And I would think that that's kind of difficult to do for some of these guys.
Well, no, it's the thing. Okay, it's not really difficult to do. It's really finding and understanding that. Okay, what happens is this is how it happens. Okay, and this is what a lot of guys don't understand. All right, I'm gonna use you for as a I'm gonna use you as an analogy. When you're hungry, you say to yourself, "Man, I'm hungry." all of a sudden this voice in your head says, "Hey, Cliff, maybe we want pizza today. Maybe we want Chinese food. But come on, let's get some Italian today, Cliff." You get a ton of options. You ever notice that whenever you say I'm thirsty or I'm hungry, you hear this voice in your head giving you options of what you want to do. And I mean, sometimes you don't even realize it's happening. You're like, you know what? You're driving down the street. You're like, man, damn, I sure really want something to nibble on. And then all of a sudden, man, do you want Taco Bell, Wendy's, McDonald's? What do you want to eat? I mean, what do you want to eat? And that right there is what I call the mindset. You see, there is this what I call, like I say, a gatekeeper, a voice in your head. And the only time it doesn't do that for you is when it comes to relationships and women. Because what most guys don't realize is they do what I call signing contracts with themselves, meaning that they're saying that, okay, you know what? I like how things are, even though they don't like how things are. But in the contract, it's like everything is fine. Your job is to make sure that you sabotage anything that I do when it comes to a woman. And they don't even realize they're doing that because the voice in their head becomes loud. When they see a woman, the voice in their head, oh, you can't get her. She's too pretty. You're not good enough. You're not. They give them a million excuses. It's as if they get in a car and the car starts to control them. That's how it's working with these guys right now. But what we try to teach these guys to do is that, listen, the voice in your head can work just as good as it can when you want something to eat when it comes to women, because a lot of guys don't realize that they have the power over their voice. But right now, in this analogy, it's like the car is controlling the driver. When they see a woman, it's the mindset that tells them, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. Oh, how you going to get her? What are you going to say? What are you going to do? And then all these things build up, man. And then they start to get nervous. They get all these anxieties. They don't know what to say, don't know what to do. And then that voice in their head is like, okay, job well done. But once you begin to learn more about your mindset, what happens is there's a little change where what happen is that voice will then begin to work for you, which then begins to expand your comfort zone. So when you go up to a woman, instead of you can't get her, she's not good enough for you, the voice will be like, hey, wait, matter of fact, before I finish, have you ever heard of a show called Afro Samurai?
No.
Okay. Afro Samurai is a great cartoon and a perfect analogy of this. Afro Samurai is a cartoon with this samurai that walks the earth and just kicks everybody's butt. Okay. But while he's walking, he has his subconscious beside him the whole time. His subconscious is the Ninja. His name is Ninja. So every time they're walking, he's talking to him as a subconscious. But then when there's a bunch of people about to fight, his subconscious says, oh no, Afro, run. You ain't gonna win. Run. We can't win this fight. Let's run. Afro defeats them all. And guess what the subconscious says after it's all over? I told you we could do it. I knew we could do it, Afro. Well, it's the same analogy with this. See, once you begin to change your mindset, what happens is that when you meet a woman, then it becomes, what self do you want to use? Do you want to hit her with your lover? Do you want to be smooth, seductive, freaky, nasty, dirty? You have choices then at that point, because then just like you wanted something to eat, your mind is working for you, the mindset. So then that changes. Then once that changes, everything changes, man.
So uh, the coaching that you do? It's all, I guess. Do you do anything in live in person, or it's all just over the net, or how do you do that?
I have some people that will fly me sometimes to their houses, and we'll go to a club, or we'll go out. But the majority of it is basically either Skype or phone consultations, or they'll call the radio show, and we'll help them as much as we can on the radio show.
And do you find any big difference between the coaching in person compared to on the phone?
Well, no, they all well see most of these guys. The thing is that they have they what they do is they do damage to themselves by what they do is they grab so many things and they try to fit this together to create something. Then they get more confused. And what I've noticed is that when I see them face to face and stuff like that, these are fine looking young men. I mean, no, you know, I mean, they're nice looking young men that look like they can get women. But when I watch them, when I watch their interactions with them, and I'm able to sit down with them and say, okay, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. This is what we got to tweak. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and do A, B, and C. I noticed that, you know, they don't get as frustrated. But the thing that worries me sometimes is kind of like, you know, they get excited because, oh, okay, you know, Steve, I'm with Steve, man. I'm rolling with Steve. And they see me all the time. You know, I'm just always excited. I'm always happy go lucky and stuff. So we go, I say, watch this. And then sometimes we're walking. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I start talking to a woman in front of me. He's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, you can do it too. So it blows their minds when we're more face to face than video or phone coaching, man.
Do you have a special secret technique that you teach your best students?
No, no. Well. What we're doing, we do things in phases. So right now we're beginning to work on phase two. We've been working on phase one for like 18 years. We've been doing that same thing. So we got my clients are ready to move up to the next phase. But basically, what we do is we keep everything simple, but we don't try to change the formula, if you want to call it a formula. It's not really a formula, but we don't really change it. What changes is the guys. See, the way we teach these guys, the more you learn about yourself and you go back and check out a product, the more you're gonna learn about yourself. So it's a constant thing of growth, because one thing they learn is, you'll never reach manhood until the day you die. Because I'm always teaching men that who you are yesterday is totally different than who you are today because of your growth. And that's the thing that throws women off, because most women, when they deal with the regular guys, they already know them. They already know what they're going to do, why they're going to do it. But when they deal with a real man, they have no idea what they're going to get from one day to the next.
Do you do you have any particular strategies in terms of how you have guys meet women besides just sort of say hi to them?
Well, yeah, what I'm saying, okay, the first phase is saying hello to them. And then I tell them this. I say, okay, check this out. So sometimes the sun, the star, and the moon is going to line up. Now, you might go say hi to 5 women a day, and it could be the third woman, could be the second woman, it could be the fifth woman, it could be all 5 of them. I don't know, because I'm not there. But what we always teach them, again, we got the king, the warrior, the man, and the lover. And I stress to them, your warrior must always be prepared, meaning that you say hi to a woman, one of these days, she's going to stop and say hi back to you. So at that point, now it's time to get into letting her know what is to separate you from everybody else, because she has met hundreds of guys. She's going to meet 100 guys after you, and she's met thousands before you. So we have to separate you from everybody else on phase two. And this is the introduction part. So what we say is this. All right. So when she stops, it's this simple. And I break it down to them. I say, okay, the rule of women is that they're going from point A to point B. That's the truth. She's got somewhere to go. She's got something to do, and she is a busy person. But she stopped. All right, because maybe she found you attractive. Maybe she wanted to see what you're talking about. I don't know what happened, but she stopped. So now it's time, what we call put your bid in. And basically what we'll do is we will the main thing we tell them is to say, excuse me, be courteous. That's the first thing. Excuse me. Damn, sorry, I apologize about that. But excuse me. I don't mean to be rude. I'm not trying to hold you up. I know you have somewhere to go, which is all true. And then after that point, you let her know, my name is Steve and your name is, and she might say, my name is Kelly. Then from that point, you use her name in the next sentence. Kelly, well, like I said, I know you're busy, but then this is the key word or the key line right here. See, most guys don't ever tell women why they came over there. Most guys just throw stuff up on the wall, hoping something sticks. I don't want you to waste your time. I want you to get right to the point. Well, let me let you know the reason I came over here is because you caught my eye. I find you attractive. I want to get to know. I mean, you gotta be 1,000 with women. No reason to lie or anything like that. Tell her the truth. Tell her why you came over here. This is why I came over here. Now, after that point, what is it that you want to do? At this point, you want to say, you know what? Hey, maybe we can go out sometime. You know what? No dinners. We don't do any dinners, Cliff. None of that stuff. Either you're going to feed the ducks, coffee or tea, or ice cream. That's it. That's all you can. Because I don't want you. Because I'm telling. Because I tell these guys, as many women as you meet, you can't afford to take all these women out to dinner, but you can take them out to ice cream, get a coffee or some tea, or go feed the ducks. You can do that. Not to the wintertime, you won't be able to feed the ducks. But anyway, but then at that point, this is what we tell guys: always give her your number. Never ever accept her number whatsoever. And the reason a lot of guys understand that is because, see, I'm going to use you as an analogy. Maybe she's with you and maybe you're not paying attention to her. Maybe she just wants to feel good about herself. So, what she's going to do is she'll take your number, then all of a sudden, or excuse me, you'll get her number, and all of a sudden you're running behind her. You're running behind her, blowing up her phone, and you don't know if she's interested in you. And what a lot of guys don't understand nowadays are women are very aggressive, number one, and women love sex. That's the thing that a lot of guys don't understand. And if she's really interested in you, what is she going to do? She's going to call you. That's it. Because a lot of guys will get a woman's number and keep blowing her phone up, and she's like, "Oh my God, I don't even want to talk to this guy." So we try to make it cut and dry. You walk up to her, you excuse yourself, you shake her hand. Oh, I forgot that part as well. When you introduce yourself, you shake her hand. Why? Because sex starts when you first meet. I want you to make contact with her. I don't want you to stand her right in front of you. We want you to make contact with her. So shake her hand, ask her name. Once you get her name, let her know this is the reason why I came over here, and these are my intentions. I want to take you out sometime. Here's my number. When you're free, give me a call. Now, with that being said, real quick, is that we also prepare them. Remember, warriors always got to be prepared. I always teach our guys to go for two no's, not one, but go for two. Now, I always tell guys the worst thing a woman can say is that I have a boyfriend, no, or get the F out of my face. Those are the three worst things she could say. Okay. Now, two of those are still an opportunity because, see, a lot of guys don't know a lot of women out there either tell you I have a boyfriend or they wear a wedding ring on their finger because some women want to separate the guys who want commitment from the guys who just want to have a one night stand or just want to mess around. So sometimes they'll throw that out you because women are always testing men. I have a boyfriend. I'm married, or I'm not interested. Well, then at that point, I tell these guys, you know what? Hey, then at this point, give her one last opportunity to be with you. You know what? Take my card whenever you want to get away from it all, whenever you want to have fun, when you have a good time, here's my number. Give me a call and give her your card. And then say, it was nice meeting you. And I'll talk to you later and move on to the next one.
Um, I guess the next question then obviously is, once they have them out on a date, I find that, there's certain windows usually on a date, and if you don't step through that window at the right time, they kind of lose interest. And I'm wondering what strategies you advise guys to do once they're on the date with the girl.
Well, first off, we don't strategize for the date because we we look beyond the date. See, where a lot of guys fail is that they will meet a woman, they'll get her number, exchange information with her, they'll talk to her for a little bit, set the date up, and then they have this date of who, what, where, why, when, how, boring Bob questions that already turn her off. See, the man mindset teaches guys this. The date should be hugs and kisses. The date should be her next to you touching your leg. The date should be no more all that hugs and kiss. I mean, all that boring Bob stuff. We get rid of that. How? Because we teach them. Listen, whenever you want to put a nice steak on the grill, you've got to do something to it. And what does that always ask my clients? You marinate it. Say, all right. Well, what a lot of guys don't do is they don't marinate the second pussy, or excuse me, I don't know if I can say that, but the second thing in a woman. See, they always go for the one between her legs and not the one between her ears. And what we teach our clients is this through conversation courses and everything, we want you to do three powerful things that is going to make her not only want to see you on the date, but between the date, you can get her to play with herself, submit herself to you, and start talking dirty before the date. And that is three things. Number one, you got to learn how to communicate with transparency. Who you are and what I am is what this is all I am. I'm not anybody else. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to manipulate you. I'm just saying this is who I am. But also be able to send clear messages through text messaging or on the telephone. And after that, which is most important, is everything that you say and do must have impact but before the date. Remember, we're talking about before the date. Because if you do it correctly, Cliff, that you don't have to worry about a messed up date because everything is already laid out before the date happens. See, we want our guys to go on the first date to get the hugs, to get the kisses, to get all that stuff. We don't want them to wait to the date for it to happen. We want them to marinate the woman between the time they meet and the time they date, big guy.
Can you be a little more specific about marination
Okay.
or the process?
There's, the thing is, what is so special about you? What separates you from everybody else? I want to know because the thing about me is that, yeah, like I say, I meet a lot of women. And what I'm saying is, see, this goes with the conversation classes. This is what we show our guys is we're showing them that they don't know they've got different selves to them. Like I say, I've given you four already. You've got your king, you got your warrior, you got your man, and you got your lover. Those are just four of so many selves that you have. And once they learn that, you know what, and like for instance, we're about the same. You remember the Super Friends? Remember the back in the day, the Super Friends in the Hall of Justice? It was what was it? Superman, Batman, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman. You remember that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now again, I'm gonna connect these dots. I know you're like, what does this have to do with anything? I'm gonna connect these dots. Back in that day, for a lot of these young guys, there was the Super Friends, and they had those four. And depending on the situation, is that who went out there to handle it. If it was a meteor, they sent Superman. If it was a plane, it was Wonder Woman. If it was a bank robbery, it was Batman. If it was something dealing with the ocean, they sent Aquaman. Well, what these guys don't know, because remember the rule that they don't know or never been taught is there are things you know, there are things you don't know, then there are things you don't know. And that's how deep this thing is. And that's why we teach them from the man mindset of learning more about you because you have everything that you need. But you got to learn how to present yourself to communicate with transparency, be honest, send clear messages, and speak impactful, meaning that you listen. Remember what I told you earlier, Cliff, the way you think, how you behave, and what you say, they have to line up because these women meet so many guys, they can tell the fake and phony from those that are real. And once she realizes that you're real and you're doing it correctly, the first, no matter the first, second, or third question that she's going to say, matter of fact, she's going to say this when you first meet her if you're doing it correctly. Oh, you're one of those guys. How many women do you have? Oh, you're a player. Oh, you must be one of those pickup artist guys. You must have a lot of girls. That's when you know you're doing everything correctly because a woman can detect what kind of person you are, no matter how hard you try to hide it. That's where we always preach and teach these guys to communicate with transparency, to let them know what you see is what you get. I am nothing more, nothing less because I'm not trying to please you. I'm not trying to make my life about you. You have to please me because it's about me. I am selfish. I am arrogant. I am conceited. So, what is so special about you other than that body? What are you bringing to my table? Because I meet millions of women like you, but you'll never meet another a guy like me. Excuse my language. But that's the attitude we teach guys to have before they go on the date.
Yeah, definitely the guy has to be the prize. I mean, we all know that beautiful women are a dime a dozen, but a real man is hard to find.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a hard lesson for the guys to accept when they haven't really put that into their own heads to start with.
Yes.
But So you come to the date where you've already sort of cooked the meal, and then you just come and eat it, basically, from
Yeah,
what I gather.
yeah. Okay, there's levels of this, but when you really get it down, you can get her to submit the or her kitty cat. Let's say you can get her to play with herself within 2 days. I mean, that's how easy it is. I mean, see, the thing is, when a woman realizes that you're different from everybody else, they are gonna know more. They're more about you. I always say it's like the gingerbread Hansel and Gretel. They see the gingerbread house, they taste the gingerbread house, and they're like, wow. If it's this good on the outside, what's left on the inside? So that's what we try to set these guys up. I don't want to go and meet a woman and sit there and do a boring Q&A with her like most guys do. We don't want our guys to do that. We want our guys to do something different. We want our guys, as soon as they meet the woman, they start contact with her, that they starting to work, starting to marinate, and starting to set everything up. So when it comes time to go on the date, you've already got her touching and playing with herself or flirting or talking sex already before y'all even meet, before you even meet for the date. So then the date itself, oh man, it's downhill at that point, man.
Well, that sounds like a very good way to approach it. That's definitely more appealing than going on a date and sort of feeling your way around and hoping that it sort of clicks when you're on the date. You've made it click before the date.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah, yeah. We see a lot of guys. We don't want you in the hope business. You're a man. You men don't hope. We don't want you to hope. We want those women to hope that you spend time with them. See, when you show a woman some certain characteristics that you have, and that is showing her that you see the big picture, showing her that you're solution based, showing her that you are arrogant, cocky, conceited. You want the woman to think of you as a jerk or an a-hole. Those are look, the last thing clear. The last thing I want a woman to say to me is that, oh, you're so nice and you're so sweet. And anyway, man, that's death. That's death. I want her to say, you're a jerk. Wow. Are you that conceited? Wow. Why? Because a man who gets a lot of women acts that way. Listen, we always tell our guys this: we try to put you above all. Why? Because anytime you put a woman above yourself, you're going to worship it. Anything you put in front of you, you worship. How can I build a throne or build a pit I don't know, what are those things, building a something for a woman, a throne for a woman, when I have my own? Nah, it's not about. Listen, it was never about her from the first moment I met her. It was that she got my. See, there's another phase I didn't talk about: curiosity, attention, and attraction. Those are three different phases that I didn't talk about. But for me, my curiosity, you got it when I first saw you. You got to get my attention, and then you got to prove that you're worth my time before you get it. That's how we teach our guys. And when women meet guys like that, remember what I told you: past, future, present. So when she meets a hole like me, she goes back in the past and you're like, oh, I remember this guy. This guy has a lot of women. This guy's self-centered. I've dealt with all these self-centered guys. Goes into the future, and she's like, wow, this is the kind of guy. Okay. I always bring things back to nature, Cliff, and always tell guys that, women want to have sex with alphas. They want sex with the most dominant man. And it's woven in their DNA when they meet somebody with these characteristics that they are just drawn to those people. You don't have to have the nice job, because I was doing this when I was working at Kids Kingdom, making $4.35 an hour, man. You don't have to have a nice job. You don't have to have great clothes or a nice car. Sure, you can acquire those things for yourself, but never acquire those things for a woman, man.
When it comes to dating all these women, how do you teach guys to handle more than one at a time?
Roster, oh yeah, roster 101, my favorite. I love this. Okay, so basically it's this way. For most guys, I tell them to start with 5. Once they get more advanced, they can go 10 to 15. But your roster is basically like this: 1 through 5. Number 1 is a woman that is marriage material. Number 2 is a woman that is almost marriage material, but she's just not there yet. 3, 4, and 5 on down is basically you smashing. But the thing about what we teach our guys and what I learned when I was young, I'm just teaching what I learned. Every woman goes through what we call a AAA farm system. We do it like football. Because when we with our boys and everything, we trade women like baseball cards and stuff. That's what we were doing. So I would trade a 3 and a 7 to a guy for a supplemental in his 6, meaning that if I'm out with my boys, because we all alphas and everything, I get first dibs because of the supplemental. But what I would teach these guys, when you have your roster, that's your time that you're going to give to these women. Because if you're gonna, if you here, see, the thing that a lot of guys don't understand is that women are competitive. You think about this for a second. Let's take two little girls that grew up together and they were the best friends. They did slumber parties together. They like, oh, we're gonna be the best friends forever. And then all of a sudden, a boy comes into play. And then they both find out they both like him. And what does the one do to the other? Oh, she's a slut. And then she gets a bad reputation. Women will fight for your last name, your ring, and your sperm when they realize that you're not the only one. See, the worst thing you can tell a woman is let her know that I don't have a girlfriend or I'm not seeing other women, because that's going to turn her off. Women have this thing inside of them that even though she might get mad, but she's gonna really add everything up. Well, I can see why he has somebody, because the way he approached me, he was straight up with me. He told me what it was. He wasn't BSing with me. The whole time we were on the phone with him, he never broke who he was. I can see why other women want him, and women want what other women have, man.
Yes, we all want what we can't have. It's a rule of life. Um, so you don't have uh, I guess you probably see a wide variety of goals from the guys that you come across. I mean, there's the ones that want just a serious one girlfriend, and there's others that want to just date as many as possible. And some guys are more serious than others. And uh, is there a big difference between how you handle all these types of approaches?
No, because again, it goes back to what we teach about our king. Every man, you got to know what we tell them this. What is it that you want? And are you sure this is what you want? And then what are you going to do to get what you want? That's what we always ask guys. See, every guy that we meet, like you said, there's some guys that want relationships. Some guys want marriages. Some guys just want to sleep with women. But the thing that's so beautiful about the man mindset is that you have the choice of what you want, because you were laying down a foundation when you first meet her to let her know what is. If you don't look, if you're not looking for a relationship as a man, listen, this is the truth. Look, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm not really looking. I'm right now, I'm chilling. Now, if something comes along, maybe then. But right now, this is where I'm at. But and see, the thing is that a lot of guys don't realize when you tell the woman that type of truth, she's gonna want you that much more, because you're not playing games with her. You're not stringing her along, hoping that, well, I'm gonna tell her what she wants to know so I can get her in bed. No, she's gonna want to sleep with you more when you let her know that, look, you're not special. There's no look, you may have 98 guys beating down your door. 98 guys beating down your door. That has nothing to do with me, because I'm not going to kiss your butt. I'm not going to tell you how pretty you are. You still got to prove yourself to me. Oh, you're such a jerk and an asshole. But guess what? You're the first one she calls. You're the first one she waits till you jump on the Facebook and she sees you, and she's the first one telling you good morning. She's the first one to tell you, you know what? Even though she has a bunch of guys at her whim, she's the one looking at you saying, you know what? Hey, at 1 o'clock, I'm going to the gym. And not only go to the gym at 1 o'clock, she's going to take a photo to show you she's at the gym. Why? Because she's got to prove herself to me. I have nothing to prove, because I know what I'm capable of doing if she's worthy enough to be called my booty call, my girl, my wife, or whatever I want to call her. But the beautiful thing about the man mindset, it's all about you. We never make it about them. But once you make it about them, like I said before, that's when you lose, man.
Why don't we go a little deeper into the relationship things? How do you deal with these guys that maybe have a problem because they're in love with a girl and they don't really know what to do? You know, they're too far into it, and you know, they don't know how to get her to be as interested in him and her in him rather.
Well, okay, they're okay. Think about this. There are certain things that's probably a combination of things, and that's why we always break the system down to its parts because that's where we talk to our guys to see where the problem is. Now, the problem can either start when they first meet, the approach, and she realizes he's got to work to get her. He doesn't have any backbone. He's scary and things like that. The dates were he was just kissing her ass, never stood for anything. It could be that phase, or it could be when they get in. See, a lot of guys don't realize what bad sex is. See, even if you're sleeping with her and you're not doing these things correctly, that can also turn her off. But see, the thing that we try to tell everybody, every man that comes through our doors, the first conversation we're having is this: I'm a drama free man. You bring any drama in my life, you're gone. See, the thing we tell our guys that have problems with women, we always ask them this question: does she go to her job and treat you the way she treats her boss, CEO, and CFO of the company? They're like, oh no, I don't. Okay, but see, the thing about us, I want to know the why. Tell me why. Well, shoot, if she treated them like she treats me, they'll get fired. Oh, okay, we just made a breakthrough. See, the problem is most guys don't have a standard of if you mess up, you're gone because they're living in a world of problematic. And I always tell guys, solution based. A problem is a meteor the size of Jupiter heading towards Earth. That's a problem. Your woman getting out of line, that's an easy solution. You get rid of her. But for the guy that is too deep in and he's in love with the woman, I would tell him to be honest. He's got look, the first rule of a king is learning sacrifice. Sometimes you got to sacrifice for the greater good. The greater good is you. See, when you are living in what I call in a reactive type relationship, meaning that you're not in charge. She doesn't respect you. She's going to treat you any way she wants to treat you. Again, we teach you mindsets. We teach you about it's about you. And as long as you're kissing her butt and running behind her, you're going to lose. So I would tell that guy, you've got to let her go because she is not following your narrative. And just like the job, do you think a job is going to have somebody come to work when they want to come to work, take 3 hour breaks and leave when they want to go? No. But that's what a lot of guys do because, like we went talked about earlier before, a big guy, is that a lot of guys don't think what we call about tomorrow or the next day, or they're not prepared for what is to come. And then what happens is they get in those situations you're talking about because they're not prepared for it, man.
You know, I think a topic I wanted to bring up with you is marriage. What do you tell guys about marriage? Especially you've been married for a long time, and uh, you know, I'm sure you come across guys that are both interested and not interested in it, and I'm curious how you deal with them.
Yeah, we again, we all again, it's what you see. That's the thing about us. We keep from the guy that wants to meet women, sleep women, live with them, engage with them, or marriage with them, married to them. We cover all those bases. So where I like to start off is at the moving in phase, which is the most important phase for a guy that wants to be married. Because when you move in, at this point, I would tell you to get a joint account with that woman. You know, the first thing he's going to tell me, what the F are you talking about? Why the hell would I get it? I was like, calm down. I'm not finished. That was a comma. The reason why I want you to get the joint account is your money is your money. Her money is her money. The reason for the joint account is to put the bills and entertainment in. So you take your money and put it in your half of the rent, electricity, and stuff in there. And then she does the same thing. Now, when you decide on getting engaged, that's the next powwow. The next powwow is this: we need to discuss religion. We need to discuss Halloween, Christmas, how we're going to raise them, school. See, these are things a lot of guys don't even think about, but we teach them these things because this is how I have success in my marriage, because this is what I did, nor and my mentor as well. He's been married for damn over 50 some odd years to his girl. But anyway, but this is what we teach our guys, that you know what? I'm the man in the household. I need to look at the books. I need to look at your credit. I need to know what you're doing with your money. And I need to know what's going on. I need to look at everything, because I'm not just going to give you my last name just because we live together. And it's very important, guys. No unprotected sex, even if you're living with her, until she has your last name. But anyway, but from that phase, we got to talk about discipline. We got to talk about what our plans are, what we plan for if we have kids, what is our 5 year, 10 year, 15-year plan. And those are things a lot of guys don't look at. And what they do is they get into the marriage, and then they allow this crazy ass woman to have this 30,000, 40,000, $50,000 day that she can show off in front of all her friends because she's a princess. And that ain't happening. I'm gonna give you, we're gonna allot you $5,000. That includes the rings. You do what you can, but we're not gonna waste that money. Why? Because debt is one of the biggest problems that hurts and hinders relationships. So, as a man and a king, you want to make sure that she is worthy of your last name by vetting her and seeing and checking the books. And even in the phase of living together, if you have no gas, don't ask me. Don't ask me for anything, because I need a responsible woman who's handling her stuff. And if you can't handle yourself, you can't have my last name, because it's like the Lord of the Rings. You got to slay the dragon to get my last name. And that's the standard that we teach our guys from day one to have, because a lot of women are going to want to marry him. A lot of women going to want to have kids with him. But no, only someone that is worthy of them will get that, man.
Okay. Well, let me go to the next step. Have you given guys advice about having families?
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us how you help a guy to, I guess, transition from there being just him and a girl to him and perhaps some children.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and this goes into the engagement phase. See, the thing is, and this is why I tell guys, no, so guys, they have kids going and all this. We tell them you're what I want, my end game for every guy I tell them is that I want in the year 3458, when you are no longer on this planet, that they have a picture of you on the head of their fireplace and saying, "This is my great, 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 great grandfather, my great, great, great grandfather Cliff. And he's the reason I am who I am today." That is my goal and my end game for my clients. And what I'm saying is this: my sperm is my legacy. And to have my child is and I teach him, as a woman, you have to have your stuff together, because I'm not going to give my kid to some woman that's messed up in the head or disrespectful or not going with the narrative of, look, like I say, we got to talk school. We got to talk discipline. We got to talk about Christmas, Halloween, religion, politics. We got to discuss all these things, and we have to have a front of you and I, because if we have division amongst ourselves, it's going to leave the child confused. So I need to know if you're worthy. But that happens after the marriage. It should happen that way. Again, some guys do have babies in between and all that other stuff. But what's great about the man mindset, we've got a guy on our staff with us that helps any guy who has problems with the court system and child support and stuff like that. So, like I say, we cover these guys with everything, not just the confidence in approaching women. We cover them in everything in life as well, man.
Let me shift you to, I guess, what's going on in the world today with this Me Too movement.
Yes.
What's your, there's a lot of talk about men going their own way and all kinds of stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that?
I feel so sorry for them, because I don't want to know where they're going. I just always you going your own way. Where you going? Because you ain't going the right way. See, okay. there is something that I'm glad you brought that up, and I don't want to go too long in it, but again, and I just want to say this. I'm and for anyone listening to this, please hear me out and understand I'm not talking or disrespecting your mom. Please, I need to say that first, Cliff, because this all connects to that. A lot of these young boys have been raised by mom. A lot of these young boys have been raised to still have the umbilical cord attached to mom because they relate more to mom than real men. Because at an age of 7 or 8, you should cut the cord and you should no longer relate to mom. And I'd say not love mom, but not relate to her. But what happens to these young guys, and this is, and Cliff, give me a second because I'm going to connect that with the men going their own way and all that other stuff, okay? What happens is mom begins to do things to these young boys. She starts to give them a false sense of what life is all about by coddling these boys, neosporin. Everybody's a winner. Some moms teach their boys to disrespect the father, disrespect authority. Some of them, they coddle their sons. They give them inconsistent discipline. They teach their boys how to be emotional. They teach these boys not teaching their boys what boundaries are. They don't teach these boys coping skills. They smother them. They bully them. They try to run their lives. They don't encourage them to separate and learn how to be men. They take away these young boys' masculinity. Okay. So what happens is, Cliff, you got these confused young boys. And then they step out into this thing that doesn't care about you, me, or any of them. And it's called life. And when they walk out into life and life hits them because all their time they have never been taught how to be a man and mom has been coddling them, they get confused and frustrated. And Cliff, I know you've seen it. Have you ever seen a show called When Nature Attacks? You when the animals attack and everything?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, well, man, dude, let me tell you real quick. It's awesome. Usually, what they do is they show a guy in a cage with a lion or a bear, and the bear is doing all the juggling and stuff. Then one day, the bear realizes a bear and it mauls the guy. That's like When Nature Attacks. Well, it's the same thing with these young boys. See, when you're with mom and you're learning from mom, and mom is indoctrinating you with emotion and not logic, you as a young boy are out of your nature. And that's what a lot of guys understand. They're out of their nature. And what do women do? They're victims. Poor me. The world doesn't work for me. And all these roller coaster ride things that these guys are going through, they have learned it from mom. And then when they get out into the real world or get out to the world and they want to meet a woman or start a relationship, they don't know how because they never had dad. Now, sometimes these boys do have mom and dad. But just because dad is in the house doesn't mean dad is really head of the house. And what does dad teach his son? Oh boy, happy wife, happy life, son. Don't make mom mad. You'll sleep on the couch and you better listen to mom. We want mom. And what is he teaching his son? He's not teaching his boy to be a man. He's not preparing him for the world out there. So these young boys go out into the world and all of a sudden the world doesn't work like it used to work at home. And for a lot of these young boys, they become confused and they become emotional and they feel like, you know what? I need to go away and I hate women. Women are terrible. Don't get me wrong. Now that Me Too thing, that's the job thing. I tell guys, you can't do it like we used to back in our day, Cliff. You could talk to a woman at her job and still smash that day, but you got to stay away from that stuff. But what we tell these guys is that they have so much anger and resentment towards the woman. Now, don't get me wrong. We always teach our guys that you train every person on how to treat you. And if you train everybody on how to treat you, how can you get mad at someone that's being disrespectful to you when you're allowing the disrespect? But yet you want to blame her like mom blamed dad. You know what mom did? Because this is why I tell guys, it's an awakening. They get mad at me, but then they come back and they say, okay, I see what you're talking about. I always tell you guys, hey, look, do this. Go to your mom. Go to your mom and say, hey, mom, I just met a girl that I think I like. What should I do? And the woman that you have always trusted is going to lie in your face. There were two lies. One, she lied to you about Santa Claus. That's number one. The second lie she's going to tell you is this. She's going to say, and do take the test. Oh, well, what I want you to do is open doors for her, tell her how pretty she is, bring her flowers, be a gentleman. That's the lie. But then what I want you to do is say, Mom, tell me about my dad. You know what she's going to say? He was a jerk. He was an asshole. He never listened. He was always this and he was always that. And then you got to think to yourself, wait a second. If dad was all these bad things, then why did you sleep with him? Not only sleep with him, but you let him inside of him raw. He went inside you raw and had me. But yet you're telling me to be nice to women? You're telling me to buy flowers, bend over backwards, take my coat off and put it over a puddle? That's the wake-up call for a lot of guys. They got to realize mom loves you. And let me tell you something. Your mother as well as my mother, we will always be their baby. No matter how old we are, we will always be their baby, and they will always treat us like their baby. That's why you must cut the cord and separate yourself from mom. But that's where these movements come from a lot of these young boys. Because if you follow some of these guys home, or if you do your research on some of these guys, they were raised by mom. They were never raised by a man, because a man is going to tell you to stand on your own principles. A man's going to tell you take responsibility, be honorable, have integrity. That's what men do. Women, on the other hand, are emotionals, victims, poor me, place blames, emotional, running from things. So that's what you see a lot in those behaviors. Remember, I don't know people. I just look at behaviors. That's what I was taught, man.
Well, I think I'd like to ask you now to tell the guys about, if they wanted to learn some more from you, if about maybe your coaching, your products, what if they wanted to follow up here and have more of the Steve Williams experience? What do you offer for them?
Well, one thing I like to do for anybody dealing with you, and we'll set something up. Send us let us know where you came from. Let us know where you came from. And what we'll do is we'll set something up special for just say where you came from. Say Cliff's say, hey, I heard this from Cliff's List, and this is where I am. Now, again, when you buy a product, we will give you some extra stuff in there because you are coming from here. But one thing we always want to say to these guys out there is this: two things real quick. We have a radio show that we do on Tuesdays. Now I do one with Lil Cario, I do one with the Pimp Rosebud, and I do like 6 hours on the day. I mean, all on Tuesdays, 6 hours of radio that we're live, we're unscripted. You call in, we'll help you. That's what we're here for. Now, as far as products go, right now we're in the phase of the birthday package. Now that's going to end September 15th. Now, what that is that you get discounts on products right now up until the 15th. But if you join our Man Mindset membership, you'll always get product discounts every month, as well as 4 extra hours of information that no one else gets. But one thing that we do, and I don't know about everybody else, but anytime you buy a product, you can always send me a message. If you have a question, send me a number and you will get a call from me. And I am here to help you. I'm not here for you to just buy something and then you never hear from me again. My goal and my job at the end of the day is just one thing. If you hitting it from the back, just take a moment and say, "This is for you, Steve," and just smack her ass one time. That's all I'm asking you to do. Just do that for me one time. But but serious though. But we are preparing these guys right now, Cliff, for September 15th, where we're going to release the Halloween game, where we're going to show them how to have women on Halloween come up to them, and they don't have to do anything at all on Halloween that whole weekend. And not only we do that, Cliff, on that weekend, and this is what we do differently. You call the radio show, you tell us what city you're in, and we will do the work for you. We will tell you where to go. So all you got to do is show up. These are some of the things that we do on the Man Mindset, as well as we got cooking shows where we show you how to make breakfast for women, desserts for women. We have things to show you about life. We want to just we just don't want it to make it about your confidence, because that's not all a man is. A man is so many things. And unfortunately, a lot of you guys, remember, you are right now, you just don't know how deep this rabbit hole goes. But one thing is rest assured is, you come over here, send me an email, I will call you, we will set you up with a package, but make sure you say you come from here. If you come from here, we're going to do something special for you. You have my word on that, Cliff.
Well, that was very kind of you. I appreciate that. Well, look, Steve, I think this has been very enlightening, and I really appreciate the time you've taken with me tonight. And I think the guys are going to get a lot out of this, and I'm hoping that a bunch of them will follow up with you and learn more from your stuff.
Yeah, well, and again, I want to say thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I don't know. We kind of went over a little bit, but you can see I'm very passionate about this, man. I just want these young men to win, and I want these young men to know that they're kings, and it's their birthright to stand tall and have these women bow at their feet. And once they can start to realize that, their life is going to change, man. It's going to change.
Well, I think you're onto something that guys should definitely follow up on. So again, I'll just sort of end this now, and I want to thank you again, and hopefully we'll do this again sometime very soon.
Thank you, Cliff, and you have a good night, man. Thank you so much, sir.